Part 44. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 450. Hello, sir, there are 6 trainers in total. Here are the identity authentication and entry permits for the Elf Alliance. Yang Yu and the other 6 held their breath. After passing the certification of the Marine Protection Fleet, Chang Haiu saluted the officer on the ship, and then seriously drove the ship towards the sea ahead. Large-scale fishing by fishermen is not allowed around the Dragon Palace secret realm in the East China Sea. Private individuals can capture elves at sea. However, if you do not have a license from the Alliance, please do not attempt to enter the Dragon Palace secret realm. Chang Haiu explained. Trespassing to the Dragon Palace secretly is a very serious matter. Yang Yu and the other 6 nodded repeatedly. The ship slowly stopped on the sea. Everyone, we are here. Chang Haiu greeted everyone. Yang Yu walked out of the cabin with some curiosity. It didn't matter, but he looked in the direction of the tail of the ship. A vast sea. Yang Yu glanced towards the bow of the ship again, but the sea was still vast. Forget about the left and right sides. At first glance, there was nothing, not even a sign that could indicate the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. So, were we kidnapped at sea? The kind that can't go back. Thinking about it more carefully, Yang Yu seemed to be willing to get on the boat. Uncle Chang, where is the secret realm? There is an empty sea all around. Chang Haiu laughed. The secret realm is under this ship. How can there be a secret realm on the sea? Come on, get ready to put on your diving suit. Also, when you summon the elves? Chang Haiu's expression suddenly changed. Am I pretty? The 3 Gyarados calmly lowered their heads, looking innocently at the overturned boat on the water and the cursed trainers on the water. Bot, 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 bot. Yang Yu. Luo Feng. You two, can you let me finish my words? Chang Haiu lay on Jinglong's back, all wet, looking at the sky. What the hell? What evil has he done? Having gotten acquainted with Yang Yu and Luo Feng before, I relaxed my vigilance a little for a while and did not agree on some things in advance. Because the trainers who went to the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace in the past were not as scary as this group. They summoned Gyarados directly from the Pokeball. You 2 fools must have had sea water in your heads. What did you think? Don't you know that once such a large elf is summoned, it will capsize? The huge waves will directly capsize this petite boat. Don't ask why, because their current boat has already capsized. Little Bao Bao doesn't know what to do, but he just needs to show an innocent expression like the salty fish king. The same goes for Luo Feng's Gyarados. Hey guys, what's going on? Do you need any help? Salted Fish King, Xiao Bao Bao, why don't you turn the boat over? The boat is going to sink. Yang Yu spat out a mouthful of salt water. Damn it, there are many salt water moves that water elves can't learn. But he learned it, and it's so damn salty. The Salted Fish King gave Little Bao Bao a look, and Little Bao Bao immediately rolled up his tail and turned the boat over that was about to sink. The other crew members were fine and had received professional training, but the remaining 4 trainers were different. They suffered an unthinkable disaster. They didn't expect that on their way to the safe elven secret realm, they would encounter such a thing. I was originally happy today, coming here to go to the Dragon Palace secret realm to obtain excellent elf resources, but there were actually 2 more pig teammates in the team. Bluethin, Shiitake Mushroom. Sorry. Yang Yu and Luo Feng apologized repeatedly. What can the 4 trainers say? They can't beat these 2 people. Hurry up, get on the boat and rinse it with clean water, otherwise it will be uncomfortable for you to put on the diving suit. Chang Haiu glared and cursed with a smile. After changing clothes, we will follow you down until 6 hours later. You only have 6 hours in the secret realm. Dadu, help the little dream demon make a bubble cover. Yeah. This time, Dada once again acted as Yang Yu's bodyguard, not only protecting Tajapai's elf egg, but also dragging the little dream demon. Why do you say drag? The little dream demon appeared in a spherical bubble space created by superpowers, just like a small balloon containing the dream demon. There was a stable connecting line on the balloon, wrapped around dude's hand. Ha ha ha, it looks so cute like this. Yang Yu gently poked the small transparent balloon. The little dream demon in the small balloon curiously touched the transparent super wall. It is this thin protective layer that separates the air in the balloon from the water outside. Ready to go. As compensation, Yang Yu and Luo Feng each brought 2 trainers, as well as the rest of the crew to protect them. At first, the water was bright. Sunlight can shine into the sea water, but little by little, as everyone dives deeper and deeper, the visibility in the sea water becomes lower and lower, until blurred vision. Everyone turn on the lights. Chang Hai's steady and powerful voice sounded from the diving suit. Under the sea, the silence is eerie. Everything is dark, and it feels like the place where we are traveling now is an abyss. If you feel scared, then close your eyes. However, it is best not to do this, because you are outstanding trainers in the future. Overcome the fear in your heart, defeat your past selves. If you are afraid, you will not be able to open your eyes and see clearly, the secret of the seabed in the elven world. Chang Hai's voice was still calm, but he had more expectations for these young trainers, hoping that they could overcome the darkness in front of them. He has brought batch after batch of trainers to the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, and he knows this path very well. In this secret realm, the most terrifying thing is not the water elves in the deep sea, but the fearful heart of the trainer. This trip is not only a harvest of elf resources, but also a cleansing of the heart. The smile on Yang Yu's face has disappeared. At this time, Yang Yu bit his lip. In the diving suit, as the depth of the dive became deeper and deeper, he began to feel a little uncomfortable in his heart. The darkness seemed to swallow him up. There were deep tooth marks left on his lips. He couldn't control his heartbeat, and he couldn't control the trembling in his heart either. His hand holding the salted fish king had begun to tremble and he felt a little cold. Everyone, since you have chosen to come to the secret realm of Dragon Palace, don't miss this test. Open your eyes. Only by opening your eyes can you see the new world. Chang Hai said a lot about this line of his. Every time, he had a new feeling. Luo Feng, you can definitely do it. Luo Feng was about to cry at this time. This was not the case when he was training for diving before. Little did Luo Feng know that the place where they trained was actually a shallow beach, but now it was the deep sea of the ocean. I originally thought that I was already an excellent trainer. Yang Yu closed his eyes and couldn't help laughing at himself. The corners of his eyes were still trembling. But really, it's bad, it's too bad. Yang Yu's mouth started to tremble a little. But, since you have chosen this path, even if you are crying, even if you are kneeling, you have to go on. At this moment, Yang Yu thought of Lao Huidi, who faced death with a smile in Meteor Lake, and lived towards death. But Yang Yuming knew that this was the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, and that this was an area protected by the Elf Alliance, but the darkness still squeezed his heart, tearing apart the layers of protection and facing his fear. At this moment, the advancing salted fish king stopped swimming, turned back silently, and explained to the owner of his waist, Yang Yu. At this moment, Xiao Bao, who was accompanying him, also stopped. At this moment, Dada opened his arms, hugged Yang Yu's body tightly from behind Yang Yu, and brought Yang Yu a kind of spiritual warmth with his soft belly. At this moment, the little dream monster in the balloon wanted to break through the super space that protected it and come to Yang Yu's side. At this moment, the little fish swam in front of Yang Yu's transparent mask. Under the weak light, his body was shining with golden light. At this moment, Tijipai inside the egg trembled faintly. The salted fish king leaned down and gently touched Yang Yu's mask with his ferocious head, with little Bao Bao guarding around him. In the darkest moments, it was our host Yang Yu who brought us a sense of security. Now, it's our turn. No. I won't feel scared, I won't feel lonely, because here, I have my salted fish king, I have Dudu, I have little dream demon, little Bao Bao, little fish, and Bo Kirby. Yang Yu suddenly opened his eyes. In front of my eyes, there seemed to be countless twinkling stars. Open your eyes and see the world. Sorry, cried Pokemon's character master. Author, AI Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 451. This little guy. In the ethereal space, Yang Yu felt that there was a ray of light emerging from the darkness. Outside the transparent mask in front of him, there was a small fish with golden starlight flashing on its body. At his front, guiding him. On the tail of the little fish, there are faintly colorful scales. I don't know if it is an hallucination caused by Yang Yu opening his eyes in the dark or something else, as if they are constantly shaking in front of the mask. How are you all now? Have you opened your eyes? Chang Hai was very concerned. We are not far from the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Yang Yu turned his head slightly, and he saw the little dream demon in the balloon bubble, which was nervously pressing against the inner wall. The soft touch came from behind. There was no doubt that Dada had always been by his side. There's also the salted fish king, and little Bao Bao. The picture in front of him gradually became clearer as his mind calmed down. In this abyss-like darkness, the naturally shining stars on the little fish looked like light elves in front of Yang Yu's eyes, mysterious and beautiful. The golden shining little fish. Yang Yu never thought that the little fish in the ugly fish period would be so extraordinary. Yang Yu, your fish. Luo Feng also opened his eyes, but before his eyes, an unforgettable scene appeared. Even though it was a small starlight, this starlight was shocking. There hasn't been such starlight before, how could it be like this? What kind of elf is this? It's actually shining with gold. The changes that occurred in Xiao Xiao made the other 4 trainers and the scent protection personnel feel strange. When I first dived into the water, there is no such scene. This is an ugly fish. Chang Hai said sadly. His voice rang out from the diving suit masks in the ears of these trainers. Ugly fish, how could this be an ugly fish? How could an ugly fish be so golden? This is not a lanternfish? No, a lanternfish is not like this, but how come there is such a light on the ugly fish? Brother Chang, is this really an ugly fish? Lin Zhang, who was also a member of the protection team with Chang Hai, leaned on Yang Yu's back and was surprised. In the real world of elves, the name of ugly fish is the same as that of King Magikarp, which has very conflicting thoughts for trainers. The reason why Magikarp is linked to Gyarados is because the Elf Alliance has very clear information indicating that the evolved form of Magikarp is Gyarados. Although there are also ugly fish, in recent years, or even in the past 10 years, there has been almost no news of anyone raising ugly fish and evolving it. The evolution of this type of elf is even more mysterious than that of Magikarp. There are at least occasional examples of the latter, but there is no news about the evolution of the ugly fish. For those powerful trainers who wanted to capture Minas, they went to the mysterious deep sea but found nothing. Some trainers even stayed in the deep sea forever. In fact, the number of ugly fish is not very small, but they look ugly. Even if someone wants to keep them, how long can they endure looking at this ugly appearance for a day or two? In the elf world, there are still many organizations that capture ugly fish to study the evolution of ugly fish, trying to use technology to artificially control their evolution process, but they have made no progress. But now, the flashing little fish that appeared in front of them changed the minds of everyone present. They even believed in their hearts that perhaps, this little fish would be able to evolve into the almost legendary Minas. This is Golden legendary little fish. When I go back, I also want to apply a facial mask and cucumber. Damn it. The most incredible among these people was Luo Feng, who had seen how Yang Yu cultivated Xiao Xiao. What the hell, is this how this beauty treatment is done? Is it okay to just use cucumber slices? This world is so unreasonable anymore, this is obviously cheating. Luo Feng felt that those breeders in China who were dedicated to cultivating ugly fish would not cry in the toilet if they learned that Yang Yu's fish farming secrets actually used cucumber slices to beautify small fish. All the decades of breeding experience have been transferred to the Kadi dog. Luo Feng has begun to doubt life in the water. He worked hard to cultivate Carp King and lost all his money. Let's take a look at Yang Yu. The ugly fish that are more difficult to evolve have now been cultivated into the kind that can shine. With flash effects. Keep it like this. In my lifetime, I can really see the evolution of the ugly fish. When Yang Yu saw the changes in Xiao Xiao, he felt surprised and proud at the same time. This is the Xiao Xiao he raised. This is the little guy he raised. Hey, Xiao Xiao, we are not far away from the natural evolution. Got it? East China Sea Dragon Palace. Suddenly, Yang Yu's heart became brighter and he began to rejoice at the same time. Those facial masks and cucumbers back then were okay. Fortunately, I kept them for myself. Why did Hong Kong want to give them to girls? Sending it to a girl, haha, this is obviously a waste. Can a girl evolve by using this facial mask and cucumber for beauty treatment? Cannot. They look like dinosaurs but they are still dinosaurs. As for the pretty ones, Yang Yu doesn't know a few of them. Besides, giving facial masks is nothing, but this one giving cucumbers by hand. Can you do it? It seems that keeping these things for your own use is a very wise choice. Gradually, the expression on Yang Yu's face slowly came out of the fear. It was so beautiful, after all the hardships came the joy, perhaps, this was the feeling. Seeing the little fish's body gradually turn from earthy to golden at the beginning, until now, the golden color has begun to shine. The little fish is growing little by little under his hands. Yang Yu's heart is unprecedented. Satisfied. Oh! The little dream monster opened its mouth wide inside the balloon bubble. It stretched out its little hands through the transparent light curtain, really wanting to catch the twinkling golden stars, which were the golden light on the little fish. Great, great. Trainers, please pay attention. Trainers, please pay attention. There is a coral group ahead. After passing the coral group, a miracle will come. Chang Haiyu didn't sigh for long. Soon, his voice became serious again. The secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace is coming soon. Huja Huji. The little fish, which was sneaking close to the salted fish king in front, saw the white light on the bottom of the sea, opened its curious eyes, quickly twisted its tail, and swam to the side of the salted fish king's big head. Roar. The salted fish king noticed a few extra golden lights in the corners of his eyes and blinked. This little thing, why did it start to shine? Taking advantage of this opportunity, the little fish quickly swam a few more times up, down, left, and right, as if to show off the golden beauty of its left and right sides to the salted fish king. The salted fish king grinned widely and nodded slightly. Little thing, seems to be a little different than before. Behind the coral group, the light shines. The East China Sea Dragon Palace is just around the corner. New January, let's continue sailing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 452. Like a magical world in a crystal ball. Light and shadow intersect, absolute darkness and white light form the boundary between light and darkness. Within the light, the palace shines brilliantly, while outside the light, there are many dark shadows, like an incredible film that separates the two worlds. The East China Sea Dragon Palace is in this white world. Hiss. The eyes of Yang Yu and other trainers were completely filled with shock. The little dream demon clung to the dull balloon bubble, clenched her little hands into small fists and rubbed her eyes, for fear that she might have seen something wrong. It has never seen such a magical scene. Yeah. He scratched the back of his head blankly, opened his mouth wide, and stretched out his hand, as if sensing the movement in the secret realm of the Dragon Palace. Roar. The Salted Fish King quickly closed his eyes, and then slowly opened them. Seeing such a luxurious palace standing in the depths of the sea, even the Salted Fish King couldn't help but take a few more glances. It's so beautiful. Yang Yu sighed in a daze, seeing the many water elves that were dimly illuminated near the Dragon Palace, the spiny shells in the deep sea, and the pink fish that looked like hearts, the elf love fish. The pearls covered in white light make the exterior of the Dragon Palace extremely gorgeous. Follow me. Chang Haiu slowly led everyone to an underground passage. Yang Yu and others followed closely, walking on the huge rocks paved on the seabed. This road led to the interior of the Dragon Palace. Crack, click, click. Crack, click, click. On this road, 5 small orange-red shrimps with pliers showing off their sides suddenly appeared, clicking, clicking with a somewhat ferocious expression. It's the lobster soldier. For outsiders who break into the Dragon Palace, even if the lobster soldiers are not strong, they will still show off their powerful weapons. Only. The Salted Fish King lowered his head and looked at the lobster soldier, who was even longer than his own beard, and couldn't help but let out a soft hum. Suddenly, the lobster soldier was so frightened that he started to writhe on the spot. The shrimp lost its fighting power and began to spit bubbles in a daze. Meng. At the same time, on the road leading to the Dragon Palace, a pair of crooked eyes slowly floated up. The huge goofy look gave Yang Yu an extremely bad premonition. It's the Catfish King. Roar. The Salted Fish King was so happy that he accidentally spit out a mouthful of bubbles with a smile. Yeah. Dada also took a few steps forward, blinking curiously. This expression. It's simply not too familiar. When the Salty Fish King didn't evolve, his pair of stupid eyes were just like the Catfish King in front of him. The same thing happened when the salty fish was in its original form as a slowpoke, including Hong Kong's Kodak duck. Hey! Isn't this the scene of the original 3 Stays in the Park? However, now the scene has been upgraded and it has begun to turn into a 3-dimensional ocean scene. A series of loaches floated out near the Catfish King with dull eyes. The eyes of these loaches did not look like the slanted eyes of the Catfish King. They looked like 2 small black dots. When emerging as a group. No. More Catfish Kings have gathered. The Catfish King's comically grinning huge lips surrounded Yang Yu and others at this moment. It seems that he has a strong hostility towards King Salted Fish, Little Bao Bao, and Luo Feng's Gyarados. I thought. After escaping the scene where the 3 creatures gathered together in Hangzhou Momo Ocean Park, they would never encounter it again. However, who would have thought that Hong Kong actually caught a Kodak? I thought. After escaping the Kodak duck, the scene of being attacked by the stupid move, dumb eyes will no longer occur, but I never expected it. Even if you go to the deep sea or the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, you still can't escape the stare attack. Yang Yu's eyes froze. The trainers around me, including Luo Feng, always feel that their eyesight is not good. They are already surrounded by dumb. At this time, the Salted Fish King raised a strong momentum, protected Yang Yu and Xiao Xiao behind him, and confronted these Catfish Kings. The scene before me. Yang Yu's heart jumped again inexplicably. Appeared. The supporting characters of Little Carp Adventures that were missed during the military training period appear, Earthquake Catfish and Lobster Soldier, hey. This is really interesting. Can we gather these elves together and make an elf cartoon or something? If we don't make a cartoon, it would be great to make a movie. If this movie is made, wouldn't Yang Yu be able to wander around in the entertainment industry in the real world of elves? Hiss. Isn't this a great way to make money? Arrange a C-position debut for Salted Fish King? Yang Yu's mind flashed back to the scene when he went to Elf High School to recruit students. Those crazy girls, this Salted Fish King already looked so fierce, and he actually wanted to take a photo with each one of them tremblingly. Damn, Yang Yu lost blood again. I should have known that I would have to collect money for this photo, especially these girls in high school. Forget about their own alma maters, high school girls spend money, it seems to be the kind of money, right? Hateful. I really want to beat them up and cry, what should I do? Luo Feng would never have imagined what messy things Yang Yu was thinking about now. What Yang Yu was thinking was that it had something to do with the hammer in the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace elves. Chang Haiu signaled with a light, and took out a crystal blue orb from a bag on his waist. The orb contained extraordinary vitality. In the secret realm of elves in the East China Sea Dragon Palace, there is a Dragon King who controls the secret realm. This is an agreement reached between the Elf Alliance and the Dragon King. Every year when the Elf Secret Realm is opened, the Elf Alliance will use the Jade of Life as a condition for opening it. Treasures in the Secret Realm, among thousands of treasures, choose two. Whether it is captured elves or elf props, the number is limited to 2. The Secret Realm of the Dragon Palace breeds elves or elf treasures in a long cycle. You must not greedy. You can choose to capture 2 elves, or choose 2 props. However, under normal circumstances, 1 elf and 1 prop is the best choice. If you already possess 2 Dragon Palace treasures, when you reach out and touch the third one, you will be immediately asked to leave the Dragon Palace. Chang Haiu said calmly. Yang Yu was stunned and took a sighing look at these fallen lobster soldiers, especially the stupid catfish king with crooked eyes. It's a pity that the Adventures of Magi-Carp movie can't be made for the time being. Only 2 pieces available. When everyone came to the thin film that separated the 2 worlds, everyone held their breath. Next, it's time to witness the miracle. When you go in, pay attention to safety, but stand still. We are waiting for you outside. Above the mysterious white light, Yang Yu reached out and touched it. Suddenly, he staggered and his feet went weak. Dede immediately stretched out his hand to light up the super light, and instantly pulled Yang Yu. However, other trainers do not have such good luck. Boom! Luo Feng slammed his head directly in front of Yang Yu. Brother, this is really unnecessary. Yang Yu was startled, and suddenly found that except Luo Feng, the other 4 people were also entering the Dragon Palace world, and their legs suddenly became weak. The wetsuit on me is a little heavy. Luo Feng faced down and felt like he was about to cry. Do you think I want this? If you didn't have the Slow King, you would be like this. But who made Yang Yu stay in a daze? The broken training class will end tomorrow, and normal updates will resume the day after tomorrow. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Chiang Shao. Chapter 453. Quick, help me up, I think I can, rescue him again. The Dragon Palace is completely separated from the outside sea water. Here, you can breathe fresh air. Although it will inevitably bring a little salty smell of sea water, it is enough to open the eyes of Yang Yu and others. Luo Feng took off his mask and breathed heavily. Grandma has such a bad leg, this is too miserable. Bang! The little dream monster finally floated out of the burst balloon bubble, and its big black eyes began to shine like diamonds and stars. In the Dragon Palace, a lot of flashing and colorful lights, sapphires, rubies, emeralds, and other sparkling underwater treasures are all piled up in the Dragon Palace. This is the paradise of elves' resources. The little dream demon rubbed its little hands in anticipation. It saw itself reflected on the cut surface of a ruby. Looking at it, its mouth watered. Who doesn't like something that sparkles like this? If I sell this one, how many bucks can I exchange for? The little dream monster doesn't want to work hard. The dragon palace is very tall, and the site is also huge. The hillsides filled with gems are eye-catching and make people wonder. The golden conch hat on Dudu's head blinked for a rare moment. The dazzling array of gems in front of him made the golden conch hat cast an evil eye in disdain. Cut. It's not gold, it's some crap. But I still really want what to do. The golden conch cap has the experience of making a clear ding-dong-dang sound when coins come in. I have to say, that sound, the feeling of coins entering the cap. So cool. I really want to try what it feels like to hold these gems. It's a pity that it can only look like this. These gems are the most common in the Dragon Palace, which also means that these are the least valuable things. Even if they are valuable, they are still more than a little bit worse than other elf props. Little dream demon, don't touch it with your hands. Yang Yu saw the little guy eager to carry a gem back and immediately stopped him. The little dream demon pouted, reluctantly looked away, reached out and quickly shook Yang Yu's finger. It still wants it so much. The fewer they are, the more precious they are. Little dream demon, look at the piles of gems. In the Dragon Palace, they are all worthless. We can only pick 2 treasures. Yang Yu touched it. The little guy's head said softly. We need to help Xiao Xiao find that one treasure. If there is another one. Yang Yu pondered for a while, he hadn't thought about it yet. Yang Yu, there are traces of many dragons in the top secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. If you are lucky, you might be able to meet them. Luo Feng finally adapted to the environment of the Dragon Palace, so he continued. I'm going to look around for the shadow of the mini dragon first. The treasure of the Dragon Palace that I want most is this kind of little elf. Okay, you go look for it first, I also have what I want to find. Yang Yu nodded happily. The other 4 trainers have gone on their own journeys to explore the secret realm, but Yang Yu still stays not far away. King Salted Fish, is there anything you want? Yang Yu waved on the ground of the Dragon Palace. Roar. The Salted Fish King is currently raising his head up, down, left and right to scare the small fish and shrimps outside the Dragon Palace. This game is quite fun. This is just like chasing those big and small birds in the meteor forest. Now here, it seems that you can chase small fish and shrimps. What does the Salted Fish King want? Yang Yu's question made the Salted Fish King a little stunned. A beard scratched his forehead. He now wants to beat the girl trainer in the Dragon Palace. What about this idea? The Salted Fish King blinked. Yang Yu also blinked. But nothing happened. Yang Yu patted his head and let out a long sigh. Then let's look for beautiful scales first. King Salted Fish, I'll leave the little fish to you first. You guys first look around the outer circle to see if there are any good things outside. By the way, when you take little Bao Bao with you, don't scare the elves around the Dragon Palace. Yang Yu he stayed in the Dragon Palace to search, while Xian Yuqing, Xiao Xiao and Xiao Bao Bao searched in the garden outside the Dragon Palace. A 2-pronged approach might lead to different discoveries. Yeah. A few more pink and white elves came in outside the Dragon Palace. They seemed to be holding something golden in their arms. It's sun coral. When these sun corals bounced past Yang Yuhi and Dede, they stopped deliberately and took a bold and careful look at Yang Yuhi and Dede, as well as the floating little dream monster, as if they were curious about where these came from. Guests outside the East China Sea Dragon Palace. The sun coral at the front called out, and these childlike sun corals immediately jumped and continued running towards the depths of the Dragon Palace. They were very cute. In the Dragon Palace, where will the Dragon King rumored by the Elf Alliance live? Yang Yu secretly marveled. The Dragon Palace does not seem to be that rigid. Many elves can go to this palace, whether it is the running sun corals just now or the lobster soldiers we met at the beginning. On the edge of Gemstone Mountain, there are also traces of lanternfish. This is the most common gem area. Keep going in. I don't know if the Dragon King will live in the depths. Yang Yu made up his mind. Yeah. Dada waved to the little dream demon behind him who was about to fall behind, signaling the little guy to follow and not to fall behind. The little dream demon reluctantly looked back at the mountains of gemstones, which were so sparkling. It would be great if the master were here. He could take away a large piece in one bite. The road was very long. Yang Yu raised his head and could clearly see the movement of some water elves above the water curtain. Suddenly, a big head emerged from the water curtain. It's the Salted Fish King. Yeah. Smiling dumbly, he stretched out his hand to say hello to Xian Xian, who was sitting on the water curtain above his head. The Salted Fish King was watching the scene in the palace from outside. Huji! Huji! The little fish's body was dotted with golden light, and its tail was swaying. Through the light curtain, it was looking at the masters walking in the palace, the stupid king and the little dream monster. Suddenly, Salted Fish King's eyelids moved. He seemed to feel an unknown aura coming from the depths of the Dragon Palace. This made the Salted Fish King look condensed. The intimidating power brought by this breath. In the past, the Salted Fish King had only felt it on Lao Huidi at Meteor Lake. It's Lao Huidi who hasn't completed his super evolution yet. Huji! The little fish raised its head in confusion, swam its tail and swam in front of the Salted Fish King. Salted Fish King! What are you looking at? Deep in the Dragon Palace, a pair of sleeping eyes suddenly opened on the crystal. It seems. I felt the scent of an old friend. It's over few. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Chiang Shao. Chapter 454. Star Sand, is it Star Sand? Hiss. The deep sea pearls are extremely rare on the seabed. If the deep sea pearls are ground into powder and added to the energy cube, it will strengthen the elves in no small way. Sun Coral. The little elves that can only be captured in the sea and basically at the bottom of the sea have very excellent continuous combat capabilities. If you don't meet the mini dragon, then capture a sun coral. The Dragon Palace is very huge. No matter which direction it is, front, back, left, or right, there are many collections of elven resources. Some trainers who have been to the top secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace once listed an information. The most precious treasure in the Dragon Palace is naturally the mini dragon. After that, the elf prop Dragon Fang ranks second, and the Dragon Fang is used to improve the dragon type moves. Powerful props are extremely rare in the Elf Alliance, and every time they appear, they fetch sky-high prices. Little elves like Sun Coral are Dragon Palace treasures that are relatively easy to obtain and equally valuable. If you can catch them, this trip to the secret realm will not be a loss. Of course, every trainer has the idea of catching the mini dragon, so they dare not take action in advance. After all, in the Dragon Palace, everyone can only get 2 Dragon Palace treasures in the end, so they must not be too greedy. Probably only Yang Yu is currently focused on finding the beautiful scales in the Dragon Palace. As for the mini dragon, Yang Yu has not even thought about catching one. What is that red thing? It seems to be still moving. When Yang Yu was looking at the second gem mountain of the Dragon Palace, he looked from a distance and vaguely saw the movement of some treasure trembling. In a layer of blue-green fragments, only the touch of red was clearly visible. Could it be? What kind of rare Dragon Palace treasure is this? Yang Yu rubbed his eyes and was very sure that he was not dazzled. In this treasure mountain, there are actually moving treasures. Could they be some spiritual elf props? Although Yang Yu doesn't know if there is such a thing, he would rather believe that it exists than that it doesn't exist. What if you miss this trip and regret it later? Dadu, let's go, I think I found a treasure. Yang Yu's eyes widened. Now he had to rush to the gemstone mountain to see what big treasure it was. Yeah. He blinked his big eyes blankly and scratched his head. He seemed to have something to say, but seeing Yang Yu's figure that had already passed by, he quickly stepped up to follow suit. Oh! Yang Yu's smile froze on his face, and his right eyelid twitched, as if he couldn't accept the facts in front of him. Look, he dug out a big moving treasure from this mountain of gems. Cluck, K. Yang Yu dug out a carp king in this layer of blue-green debris. The little dream monster opened his big eyes and stretched out his hand to poke the carp king on the back. Bang, bang, bang. Carp king couldn't help but jump a few times on Yang Yu's hand. I found a wild magi carp, would you like to capture it? Yang Yu almost vomited a mouthful of old blood. How could a carp king fall into this gem mountain? Can he still play happily? Dadu, let it go. This magi carp is the soul-destroying magi carp. It can't even salute. It seems to be the kind that grows wild in the deep sea. Yang Yu started to feel depressed. Why can't he get along with magi carp? Kalu kalu kalu. King Magi Carp returned to the seawater environment and immediately swam far away. Depressed as I am, I have to keep looking for this treasure. Hey, with so many Dragon Palace treasures, it is simply unrealistic to search for them one by one. How easy is it to find beautiful scales within 6 hours? Call. The water curtain above the Dragon Palace suddenly fluctuated. A shadow flashed across the Dragon Palace. Roar. The salted fish king, who was swimming slowly with the little fish outside the Dragon Palace, slowly stopped. He didn't know why, but he seemed to feel a movement in the water, but the movement seemed to be caused by his own swimming. Caused by time. Suddenly, a golden thunder net-like color appeared in the eyes of the salted fish king. This was not a fiery eye, but more like a thunder eye. The salted fish king successfully mastered and used another ability he obtained after 100,000 volts. Under the search of the thunder and lightning golden eyes, the demons and monsters had no way to escape. He seemed to capture something. The next moment, salted fish king's body suddenly trembled. Roar. A dull roar vibrated from the salty fish king's throat. He saw a pair of eyes. A pair of open eyes. Fast dragon. Oh, oh. Right in front of the palace where Yang Yu was, there seemed to be a faint sound. It seems that there is a melody that cannot be said to be happy. Yeah. He blinked blankly and turned his head to look at Yang Yu, only to find that Yang Yu was looking at him in confusion now. What is this? In the Dragon Palace, someone is singing? But why is there only the sound of OU? Yang Yu cautiously continued walking towards the palace ahead, passing by coral reefs and a small dark cave. In a corner of the cave covered by a mountain, he sneakily poked his head out. Suddenly, his eyes couldn't help but glazed over. What appeared in front of me was so eye-catching. Deep in the Dragon Palace. He actually has a fat head? It's that kind of fat, with a round and big head, a round and big belly, and a big butt. When he jumps and jumps, all the flesh on his body seems to be shaking in slow motion, up and down, and very rhythmically. His whole body is orange, with a cream-like color on his belly. At first glance, he looks like a chubby boy who is obese and loves sweets. However, on that chubby orange back, there are a pair of eyes that no one dares to underestimate. Wings. This is Kuai Long. This is really Kuai Long. Yang Yu almost stared down his eyes. What the hell is this? What the hell is this Kuai Long? Is there something wrong with the ranking explanation? Why does this dragon seem so happy inexplicably? I only saw the fat head, and the slender antennae seemed to be beating the rhythm of the round and smooth head. There was an indescribable feeling, which was very delicious. Oh oh oh! Happy, the dragon is swaying its happy dragon tail in its own space. What do you think he felt? He felt the aura of Lao Huidi among strangers. This aura is no longer the withered vitality it had before, but is filled with superpowers and appears to be full of vitality. What does that mean? His old friend Lao Huidi passed that hurdle. What could be better than receiving the news that your old friend is still alive and well, and even better? No. Please vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Xiao. Chapter 455. Clatter. Just when Yang Yu, Dada and Little Dream Demon were confused, the fat and happy man in the main hall of Dragon Palace suddenly raised a short and thick right paw high. The three sharp and separated white claws on the right paw cannot make the sound of snapping fingers, unless it was his own voice. All the sounds stopped suddenly, and even Yang Yu felt that his breathing was stagnant. He was a little unsure of what this fast dragon wanted to do. Click, click, click. There was a sound of closing in the passage behind him, and Yang Yu couldn't help but turn around, only to realize that the door of the passage was actually made of two huge scallop shells. After closing, it was directly separated from the outer hall. Here, it is more like an independent world in the Dragon Palace. Yang Yu looked at the fat man holding paws with his right paw in bewilderment. He even had some doubts in his heart, whether he had embarked on an adventure in the elf world with an unauthentic style, an exploration of the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Yes, isn't it a bit biased? And it's the kind that's thousands of miles away. Kuai Long. In Yang Yu's impression, Kuai Long in the animation is mature, stable, powerful and trustworthy, but Kuai Long in reality. A happy fat house in the secret realm of East China Sea Dragon Palace. Da. Yang Yu blinked, and outside the water curtain in the side hall of the Dragon Palace, a few pearl oysters suddenly popped out, jumping and opening and closing. The pink ball body in the shell, with a smiling face, looked like so happy. In addition to pearl oysters, under the guidance of the water bay, a water flow floating in the air is formed in the Dragon Palace. In the water flow, there are lanternfish with flashing lights. At the same time, beside the lanternfish, there are pink lovefish and sky blue ball flying fish. What the hell is this? Yang Yuyan vaguely seemed to have guessed something. The lanternfish in these water strips, and the pink and sky blue ribbons. If the lights of the lanternfish flashed, could it be? Dumbfounded, he couldn't help but scratch the back of his head, and the purple light bulb above his head also lit up. He seemed to have guessed it too. The entry of the spiny shellfish and the catfish king further confirmed Yang Yu's suspicion, and just when a click sounded again in the venue, the lanternfish began to swim along the water belt, forming a circle. The light shines on that fat orange back. Music, sound. What the hell? Disco dancing in the Dragon Palace. The pearl oysters were like shell phonographs, making melodious sounds in the Dragon Palace, mixed with the rapid shell hits of the spiny shells, and the rhythm suddenly became faster. The sun corals held gems of various colors and began to gather in front of the spotlight, shining the light on the back of Kuai Long, the master of the secret realm of the Dragon Palace in the center. Twisting, shaking, stepping on the beat, the fast dragon began to dance happily, started the most fashionable dragon dance. ***. Yang Yu rubbed his eyes. He must be dreaming. He must be dreaming. How could Kuai Long be like this? The next second, when the salted fish king outside the water curtain walked solemnly through the side hall and carefully came to Yang Yu's side, he looked carefully at the fat figure in the palace. The fat figure dancing in the palace was invisible. The move dragon dance was performed. It seems as if it comes at your fingertips. Salted Fish King, why are you here? Yang Yu asked in a low voice. The Salty Fish King's beard pointed in the direction of Kuai Long. It wasn't the Salted Fish King who came, but the fat man in the venue who was dancing his waist guided him. The speed of Kuai Long is increasing with the acceleration of the rhythm. Stepping on the key points of the beat, it seems that there is a step-by-step process. It's like, faster and faster, faster and faster. Wait, this is dragon dance. Yang Yu's pupils shrank, and he lowered his voice and couldn't help but exclaimed. This is completely different from the dragon dance of the Salted Fish King. The dragon dance with fat and rhythmic steps looks more relaxed. It seems that the increase in speed and physical attack is casually completed during the disco dance. Salted Fish. The dragon dance performed by Wang was very orthodox, but the execution was very rigid. Roar. The Salted Fish King nodded seriously, confirming what Yang Yu had just said. This is indeed the dance of the dragon, and the feeling it brings to the Salted Fish King is very cordial. Incorporate the dragon dance into the disco dance. Why does this feel a bit familiar? Yang Yu tilted his head and suddenly looked at the Salted Fish King. The serious-looking Salted Fish King felt Yang Yu's gaze and couldn't help but tremble. The Salted Fish King instantly remembered Yang's terrifying singing skills. This is someone who can forcefully teach singing into noise. In addition to the noise, there seems to be someone wagging Yang's tail. Kuai Long in the field shook his body up and down, stretched out his right paw and turned around in a circle, and finally landed in the direction of Yang Yu and the others. Kuai Long hooked his claws. Come, be happy. Yang Yu pointed at his nose with his finger and was stunned for a moment. I saw Kuai Long nodding there, and even looked at Yang Yu and others to signal them to come up. Yeah. He was dumbfounded as he hugged Tijapai's elf egg. The little dream demon quickly rubbed his eyes. To be honest, it seemed a little frightened. In its eyes, it seems to see a fat orange mass that jumps and shakes up and down. That's terrible. Only Yang Yu. Maybe, Kuai Long knows the whereabouts of the beautiful scales. Isn't it just disco? Yang Yu's courage is not a little bit bold now. In the top secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, the Kuai Long in front of him should be the Lord of the Dragon Palace. When he was in the Pearl Forest, he did it at all costs with the little dream monster. Friendship, and finally succeeded in taking away the little dream demon. Although he may not be able to take Kuai Long away, Yang Yu still has some self-awareness. However, as long as he can establish a good relationship with Kuai Long and betray a little sex, it will definitely pay off. Yang Yu not only wants to dance disco, but also dance differently. Kuai Long's eyes lit up. This young trainer is quite interesting. It's been a long time since the Elf Alliance had such an interesting trainer come to the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Copy guy. Kuai Long stretched out his claws, and a pair of sunglasses suddenly appeared in his left claw. Weirded instantly. Yang Yu looked Kuai Long up and down. He couldn't help but take a step back and leaned back a little. Wow! What a coincidence! What a coincidence! Dumb. Dumb. Yeah. Behind Kuai Long's sunglasses, those little eyes were stunned. In Doraemon's treasure hat. I took out 4 pairs of sunglasses. There is also a particularly big pair. Salted Fish King. Yang Yu. Dumb. Little dream monster. The disco band, let's go. Shake your shoulders, shake your shoulders. Ask for a vote. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 456. Kuai Long's tentacles were directly attracted to Yang Yu in the palace. Yang Yu's upper body shook with a streamlined and beautiful shoulder-shaking dance. It didn't seem difficult, but it had a kind of magical power. Kuai Long couldn't help but Move after move, move after move. Wow! You are good at dancing. Kuai Long stretched out his paw and moved his sunglasses, frowning slightly. He valued this young trainer very much. In the elf world, are there many people who can dance? Many, very many. But, are there many people who can dance and appear in the East China Sea Dragon Palace? Few, pitifully few. Dare to be in front of Kuai Long and dance so magically. There is only one Yang Yu. Those old antiques from the Elf Alliance really didn't know what Kuai Long wanted. Having lived in the East China Sea Dragon Palace for so long, I lacked nothing in terms of material things. As for the precious jade of life, it really couldn't be defeated by those old antiques. It was just a condition that Kuai Long casually mentioned. What's more important than happiness? When you go to play with your old friends after a while, teach them how to play this. Oh yeah. Several familiar figures flashed through Kuai Long's mind, and soon, he naturally omitted the fat purple guy in his mind. That guy couldn't afford to dance like this. But speaking of fatty purple, Kuai Long's eyes fell on the little dream demon whose body seemed to be a little uncoordinated. That dream demon had the ghostly aura of the purple fat man. Could it be? Kuai Long's mind turned around and it was possible. The little dream demon is almost crying now. It doesn't know how to dance. It obviously didn't want to jump along, but for some reason its shoulders started to shake. It really couldn't control how many seconds it was counting. Woo woo woo. Weak, pitiful, and helpless. Dede is very open. He has the same chubby body as Kuai Long, but Kuai Long is orange and Dede is pink. When Dede shakes, his belly is like a strawberry-flavored gummy candy. Same, very flexible. Outside the water curtain, the little fish watching the movement inside the side hall began to tremble excitedly, and the fish scales on its body began to tremble with golden light involuntarily. It felt so magical. Clatter. Kuai Long once again gestured with his fingers. The pearl oysters immediately stopped the rhythm of the melody. The love fish and the small flying fish followed the lantern fish and slowly exited along the suspended water belt. The spiny shells that jumped on the head of the catfish king and completed the drumming effect also stopped jumping. Time up. The sun corals in the Dragon Palace shook their short pink hands left and right in the direction of Kuai Long, and jumped away holding various gems. Europe. Kuai Long waved his round claws. When the Dragon Palace gradually became colder, Kuai Long crossed his waist for a while, supported his right paw on the pillar of the Dragon Palace, and looked at Yang Yu and his elves with an old look. Yeah. Dudu stopped swaying and found that the little dream monster beside him had become disobedient and could not stop, so he reached out to help poke the little dream monster on the shoulder, and finally stopped shaking. The little dream demon began to feel confused. Who am I? Where am I? What was I just doing? Yang Yu just shook his shoulders demonically, making the little dream demon start shaking involuntarily just looking at it. This is, what kind of move? That's terrible. Europe. Kuai Long jumped towards Yang Yu's direction with a happy expression. It must be said that today's harvest was really too great for him. Kuai Long put Yang Yu in his elbow. Release friendly kindness, so that both Salted Fish King and Dede don't have to be too nervous. How could Kuai Long hurt such an interesting young trainer? It's too late to pet him. Why doesn't the Elf Alliance send more interesting trainers here? Hateful. Yang Yu felt confused. Now, was he kidnapped by Kuai Long, the evil force of the Dragon Palace and the Lord of the Dragon Palace? And it's also the kind that's hooked on the shoulders. Kuai Long's arms are very strong, full of strength and muscular beauty, but when they are placed on Yang Yu's shoulders, Yang Yu can't breathe. Kuai Long's heavy love. It seems a bit unbearable. Europe. Kuai Long skillfully waved his claws in the direction of Dede, Salty Fish King and Little Dream Demon. At the same time, his eyes noticed Xiao Xiao and Little Bao Bao, who had been watching the Dragon Palace from outside the water curtain in the side hall. There are thousands of sea waters, just pick one. Xiao Xiao suddenly discovered. A circle of round sea water bubbles appeared around him, which was like a replica of the balloon bubble that the little dream monster had stayed in before. The balloon bubble of the little fish was filled with sea water. As long as he controlled the direction, he could fill it with water. Swimming in the Dragon Palace of Air. Huja Huji. Kuai-Long's eyes narrowed slightly, and then he quickly took them back. Let's take our happy little brother around the Dragon Palace. Where are you going? Yang Yu felt like a weak and helpless child being held up like this by Kuai-Long. Stop it quickly. Europe. Kuai-Long walked around the palace with Yang Yu, looked up and down, left and right, and stuffed something into Yang Yu's arms. Yang Yu lowered his head and glanced into his arms. Yang Yu. For me. Europe. Kuai-Long nodded affirmatively. Only then did Yang Yu carefully look at the things in his arms. This is the very famous large pearl of the elf props of Dragon Palace. The better the pearl, the more white mist inside. Look at the way the white mist in this big pearl condenses into water. What a good thing. But the problem is, does this count as one of those two props? When Brother Kuai-Long stuffed two more Dragon Palace treasures into Yang Yu's arms, Yang Yu's whole body was refreshed, and the previous anxiety disappeared in this moment. Brother Kuai-Long, keep on, don't pity me, don't stop. Yang Yu's little heart jumped unsatisfactorily, and his eyes were full of longing. The little dream demon's dark eyes were wide open, and they were about to be attracted by the big pearl in Yang Yu's arms. Hey, his saliva was about to flow out. Want to? Really want? How do you choose between the bell of the shell and the dragon's fang? Damn it! I really want both. But if I want both, I won't have the chance to find the mini dragon. Luo Feng was extremely confused in the small hall in the northwest. The shell bell can make the elf emit a unique ringing sound when it attacks the opponent and causes damage, thus achieving a slight healing effect. It is a precious elf prop, not to mention the dragon's tooth. In comparison, the shell bell is more precious, but the shell bell is more widely used. How should I choose this? Suddenly, there seemed to be some movement at the other end of the pillar in the small hall. Who was coming? The next second, Luo Feng watched in bewilderment as the incredible orange figure appeared in front of him. At the same time, he felt as if he saw a familiar figure. Quick, Kuai-Long. Isn't that the Lord of the Dragon Palace? The one being held up by Kuai-Long's shoulders and back. Damn it, why does it look so familiar? Isn't this Yang Yu? Snap. The shell bell and dragon fang in Luo Feng's hand accidentally fell into the big shell where they were originally placed. Luo Feng suddenly took a breath of air. Yang Yu, if you are kidnapped by Kuai-Long, just blink twice. When Kuai-Long saw Luo Feng, he showed no interest at all. He still showed concern for Yang Yu with a big brother's smile. Soon, he carried Yang Yu to Luo Feng's side. Bell of the shell? Dragon's fang? It seems to be a good thing, and it might be useful if given to that Gyarados. Kuai-Long didn't even think about it. One grab, another grab. They were all stuffed into Yang Yu's arms. Luo Feng stared helplessly at the Dragon Palace treasure that he finally found in the small hall, and the result. Luo Feng burst into tears with a wow sound in his heart. Yang Yu, he. Then Kuai-Long. Kuai-Long turned his head and glanced at Luo Feng. Boy, do you have any opinions? Luo Feng. Sorry. Excuse me. Please vote. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Xiang Xiao. Chapter 457. Shock. Luo Feng's jaw dropped in shock. What did he just see? He felt as if he was living in a dream. There was probably something wrong with his eyes, as if someone had touched his shell bell and dragon fang. All gone. Not a single one left. Gyarados, I want a hug, oh, come and comfort me. The eyes of Luo Feng's Gyarados had long been dull. It still hadn't woken up from the pressure of Kuei-Long's strength. Feeling the lingering power of that glance in the Dragon Palace, it lowered its head tremblingly and looked at its master, who seemed to be asking for a hug. Are you afraid? What a coincidence, so am I. Luo Feng was shocked because of Yang Yu's luck. He still couldn't even figure out how Yang Yu and Kuei-Long, the owner of East China Sea Dragon Palace, met. From the looks of it, he looks so familiar. Can we let trainers like them without plugins have fun? Luo Feng felt that even his breathing was wrong, and it was even heartbreaking. He originally thought, there is the Salted Fish King, there is Xiao Bao Bao, there is Dede, and there is Jojo Fish. This is Yang Yu's unique plug-in, but he never expected. The real source of the cheat is actually the owner of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Who the hell can withstand this? The Elf Alliance sent people to talk, and it was probably useless. As the master of the top secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, Kuei-Long's level of strength is beyond the imagination of ordinary trainers. It can even be said that it is the most powerful elf in the entire East China Sea. He, Luo Feng, is just an elite trainer certified by the Elf Alliance, and there is still a certain gap between him and the gym level. As for the Heavenly King level above the gym level, Luo Feng felt so envious that he almost cried with envy. How did Yang Yu manage to hook up with Kuei-Long? Quick, 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 Kuei-Long. Hiss. OMG. Sorry. In the Dragon Palace, the remaining 4 trainers were lucky to see the most powerful being in the Dragon Palace. However, what made them confused was the one who was forced to take over by Kuei-Long. The person who made the treasure of Dragon Palace, that Yang Yu. Let go of that Yang Yu and let me do it. They were always envious and wished they could replace Yang Yu, who was hooked under Kuei-Long's shoulders. Didn't they see the pile of sparkling things in Yang Yu's arms? There is also the little Dream Demon who is running around happily playing with big pearls on the ground. Dream Demon, what are you doing? That big pearl isn't meant to be played with like this. Each trainer looked at the big pearl rolling on the ground with fear, fearing that it would break accidentally. Isn't this bullying? The big deep sea pearl they had worked so hard to find was actually played with by a little ghost dream monster like this. For a while, the treasure in their hands became a little boring. Yang Yu. We don't want to work hard anymore. Naturally, Yang Yu couldn't feel the demands of those trainers who didn't want to work hard anymore. He now feels it deeply from the inside out. What is the care of Father Long? It's as if the dragon buff has been added to the whole body, and the equipment is all perfect. Even Dede's body is fully armed, and the golden conch cap is inlaid with 2 deep sea orbs. These are all excellent, but they don't have the beautiful scales that Yang Yu really wants. Brother Kuei-Long, I want to ask about the whereabouts of the beautiful scales here in the Dragon Palace. Yang Yu felt a little embarrassed when he saw so many things in his arms. After all, he had already obtained so many Dragon Palace treasures. Would it be to mention beautiful scales again? Not interested. Europe. Kuei-Long's eyes turned from soft to sharp in an instant, and he released a king-level elf aura, causing Yang Yu's expression under his arm to change drastically. At the same time, it put great pressure on Dede and Xianyu King. Roar. The Salted Fish King narrowed his eyes, and the intimidating domain that suddenly rose up on his body tried to withstand Kuei-Long's pressure from the Heavenly King, but it was very powerless to find that the intimidating domain was retreating steadily under the pressure of the Heavenly King. Yeah. Dada showed a crystal spoon in his hand, clicked a picture scroll in the air, and instantly gave Xiangxian's intimidation field a powerful charge, helping the Xianyu King resist the power of the Heavenly King. The little dream demon who was chasing the big pearl didn't even want the big pearl. He took out the devil's calculator from his arms and started to press return to 0. The little golden fish with bubbles in the air glared angrily beside the salted fish king. The scene seemed to freeze for a moment. Brother Kuai Long? Brother Kuai Long. Yang Yu felt something bad in his heart. It seemed, Kuai Long didn't want Yang Yu to be involved in the beautiful scales matter. The information about beautiful scales in the Demon City Elf Alliance's intranet requires higher and higher permissions. If it weren't for the little dream demon's authority, Yang Yu might not even know the whereabouts of the beautiful scales. Now, Kuai Long's reaction further confirmed a certain guess in Yang Yu's mind. Perhaps beautiful scales, and the secret behind them? Europe. Kuai Long's slanted eyes, as sharp as knives, slowly became as round as beans, and the power of the King of Heaven was quickly removed from his body. From the super spoon in his hand and the dream demon's devil calculator, he felt the feeling of his old friend. Their breath. Beautiful scales. The aura on Kuai Long's body began to become a little decadent, as if it involved a secret hidden in his heart, a secret that would make him feel heartbroken. Oh, oh. The salted fish king and Dede looked at each other. They didn't know what happened to Kuai Long. The little dream demon trembled and looked left and right. When no one was paying attention, he hurriedly hid the devil's calculator. It is only an intermediate level elf, but it actually dares to launch a devil calculator at the king level dragon. Europe. When Kuai Long's faint voice echoed in the dragon palace, even the ghost-type elf who was as cold as a little dream demon could feel the sadness of that voice. Happy dragon. Why have you become sad? The little dream demon quickly lowered his head. Could it have done something wrong? Brother Kuai Long, Brother Kuai Long. Yang Yu watched Kuai Long's fat body stoop down little by little, as if what he saw was an older elf, completely different from the previous image. Kuai Long didn't shed tears easily, but he didn't reach the sad point. Europe. Kuai Long gently pulled Yang Yu's arm and stretched out his claws towards the small golden fish next to the salted fish king. Signaling Xiao Xiao to follow. Huji, Huja Huji. The little fish felt a little uneasy, it didn't know what was happening. Kuai Long took Yang Yu to a hidden corner of the palace. Click, click, click. The picture changes accordingly. Kuai Long closed his eyes, took a deep breath, stretched out the back of his paw in front of Yang Yu's eyes, and wiped away the hot tears from the corners of his red eyes. Europe. It would be bad if children saw it. The secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, the most mysterious area. Dragon's Nest. Only those who are destined have the opportunity to accidentally come here. Kuai Long moved his fingertips and created bubbles for Yang Yu and Little Dream Demon that could breathe and move in the sea. Due to the entrance, Salted Fish King cannot enter. Dede and Xiaoxiao followed closely behind. Aha! A small head poked out of a black hole. Aha! Aha! Another head popped out. Me. This cry. In the black hole, 3 mini dragons emerged one after another like a stacked dragon. Sudden appearance. Especially the little mini dragon that appears at the end. Just like a curious baby, it excitedly looked left and right, turning its head and moving back and forth. This also caused the mini dragon that was pressed at the bottom to tilt its head as if it was about to be crushed, and vomited feebly. Bubbles. Europe. There was still a faint tremor in Kuai Long's voice, but it was much more gentle than before. The eyes, too. Please vote, please vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Shao. Chapter 458. Kuai Long gently sat down at the entrance of the cave, stretched out his big paws and picked up his children one by one into his arms. The little guy is very slippery, and once he gets naughty, he is really not easy to catch, especially in the winding dragon's nest. You can't use too much force, and you can't catch it while running, in case the nest is broken. It collapsed. Although the 3 mini dragons were almost all born in the same litter, they all have 3 completely different personalities. The biggest mini dragon is the elder brother, who has a stable character. Of course, he is also the one who was bullied the most. He was the one at the bottom who was just pinned down by the 2 little guys. Although the second mini dragon is a little naughty, it is still within control, at least it cannot cause any big trouble. The most naughty thing, here, is, hey, I'm talking about you. Among the 3 mini dragons around Kuai Long, the smallest one actually slipped away quietly when Kuai Long wasn't paying attention, and hid directly in the rockery next to the dragon's nest. The rockery with holes is the best place for mini dragons to play, especially the interconnected cave entrances, which gives Kuai Long a headache. As long as you get into the rockery, it will be very difficult for Kuai Long to catch the mini dragon. However, Kuai Long has no intention of removing the rockery. Watching the mini dragons walking around in this rockery is the happiest time in Kuai Long's life. The rockery is a testimony of Kuai Long's past love. When I was still a Hark Aron, I met the mother of these little guys in the Pacific Ocean. It was a really happy time at that time. It was a Minas that bloomed with charm. Traveling through the sea, passing through 3 rivers under the sea, fighting against giant waves, fighting against the ferocious school of fanged fish led by the megalodon shark, and meeting the largest monster in the sea, the roaring whale king. Adventure is a happy world trip. There were trainers who wanted to capture them, but unfortunately, no one could resist the singing of Minas. Even the powerful elves of the trainers could not get even an inch closer to them. After seeing the mountains and seas of the world, and taking a glance at them for hundreds of years, in the elven world, more and more trainers have seen their power, and therefore, more and more trainers have joined in the capture of their deep seas. Unfortunately, almost no trainer can resist his alliance with Minas. In the sea, they are the overlords. Even the ferocious giant tooth sharks are only watching with vigilance, but they dare not offend their majesty. Life gradually calmed down. Until one day, Minas is pregnant. It's 2 elf eggs. That was the first time Hakron became a father. It is also the fruit of love between Hakron and Minas in this elven world. Cheering and jumping for joy, they overlooked a very serious matter. At that moment, Minas was at his weakest. Not knowing where they got the news, trainers from various countries launched a second round of arrests against Hark Aron and Minas. At the same time, they also wanted to obtain the 2 elf eggs they gave birth to. In that battle, Minas's body was covered in blood, and a dazzling scale fell from his tail. There is luck and there is misfortune. In the end, 1 elf egg hatched successfully, but the other one lost its vitality. Hakron took Minas to the East China Sea and hid in the East China Sea. Here, he secretly built a downcast dragon palace that allowed Minas to rest in peace and recover from his injuries. In a blink of an eye, decades passed. The dragon palace, which was once just a big stone, has gradually become gleaming. What was once pitch black now has a dazzling white light. Here, it is pregnant with vitality. In order to bring happiness to Minas, Hakron moved a hill and worked hard, like a stone-cutting craftsman, to dig holes in this hill. Time passed by and water dripped through the stone. This hill, with the efforts of Hakron, it gradually turned into a rockery with many caves connected. This rockery was the playground of Hakron and Minas at that time. Wrapping it with its delicate body, passing through each hole, no matter how it is worn, their eyes will meet at the end. In the eyes, there is only each other. This rockery now is the testimony of their love back then. Dragon, meet those who are destined. A young man named Xiazhepeng won the favor of Hakran's first child, Mini-Dragon. Decades have passed, and now, that young man has become the powerful dragon messenger of China, and the Mini-Dragon has now evolved into a fast dragon. In the past few decades, Minas gave birth to a second child, this time, 3 elf eggs. Hakran was surprised and happy, but at the same time, he was also worried. Although Minas' injuries have been recovering over the years, because of the fierce battle and the scales that fell off, it was difficult for Minas to successfully breed the 3 dragon eggs. This is a dragon. Even a mini-dragon in the elf egg stage requires an extremely large amount of energy to breed. This is the price of power. 3 mini-dragon elf eggs. If one is not careful, it is very likely that none of the 3 will be successfully conceived. It was at that moment when power was urgently needed that Hakran evolved. Even though his body has become bloated, fat, and completely different from Hakran, in the eyes of Minas, he is still the cutest and most handsome one. He found Gengui, who did, and sought help from powerful elves. However, the load that the 3 elf eggs brought to Minas was almost unbearable. At this most critical moment, Kuai Long remembered what he had encountered in the corner of the world, a mysterious dark area where there was an extremely powerful secret force that did not belong to this world. That world is called by Kuai Long the other side of the world, the dark reverse world. Only in the corner of the world, and only with the help of the power of that world, is it possible to save Minas, and save the 3 elf eggs that have not yet been fully gestated. The 3 elf eggs finally hatched successfully. However, the little ones have never seen their mother since they were born. Beautiful scales, that is a beautiful legend. Rumor has it that in the corner of the world, on the other side of the world, there is a figure of Minas appearing there. Europe. Kuai Long's body trembled slightly. The whereabouts of beautiful scales. In fact, it has always been on him. However, this is the only treasure she left behind in this world, and only with beautiful scales can Kuai Long feel the breath of her in the reverse world. Minas has always been by his side and the little ones. Please vote. Please vote. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Chiang Shao. Chapter 459. The mini-dragon, tired of playing hide-and-seek in the rockery cave, was like a weak little soft snake, hanging on the fat and broad shoulders of the fast dragon, spitting bubbles in a daze. The soft belly of the mini-dragon is smooth and delicate, like a steamed bun, and it makes a coo-coo-coo sound. The little eyes tilted and looked at the strange-looking one in front of them. Little golden fish. The little fish swimming slowly on the side was the first time he saw such an elf. It looked a bit like a small snake, but the blue-purple scales on its back were indescribably pretty, and its ears looked like a triangular sailboat. The white fins are so cute. Me. The other 2 mini-dragons also slowly came over, and put their soft heads just on Kuai Long's legs. With their crystal-clear eyes open, they looked at Kuai Long's claws and felt a rainbow-like feeling in their hearts. The same glorious stuff, the rainbow light, brings them some indescribable sense of intimacy. Sometimes when Kuai Long is in a daze in the corner of the Dragon Palace, the mini-dragons will find their father looking at the scales in his claws. However, they don't know what the scale means to Kuai Long. The natural growth of mini-dragons takes a long time. When they grow up to be sensible and have the ability to protect themselves, Kuai Long may tell them some secrets of their scales. When Kuai Long's claws turned to Yang Yu with some trembling, Yang Yu couldn't help but feel trembling in his heart. There seems to still be bright red blood stains on this beautiful scale. Under the protection of the unique spiritual energy of the beautiful scale, that bright red color is alluring and beautiful, like a red rose blooming in a pool of blood. Alu. Dede bent down slightly, took off his golden conch cap, and bowed towards the beautiful scales in Kuai Long's hand. As a superpower, he can feel the dangerous situation when the blood stains bloom from the spiritual energy fluctuations of the beautiful scales. In the real world of elves, love and being loved are eternal. The blood-stained scales contain Minos's protection of the children and Minos' deep love for Kuai Long. Kuai Long waved his claws in the direction of the little golden fish. The blue-purple eyes of the soft mini-dragon on his shoulders suddenly stood up, as if he was a little wary. Huji! Huji! The little fish swayed and flashed its golden body, and cautiously came closer. Europe. Kuai Long gently nodded on the soft heads of the little guys beside him, and his gentle eyes fell on this little fish with golden scales. I really miss you. Kuai Long once crossed the hills, flew over the forest, and crossed the ocean, trying to find the traces left by Minos. At that time, no one would have thought that Minos was made up of groups of ugly fish. Evolved from it. Those ugly fish don't seem to know who they are, and they don't know why they are born. They seem to think of themselves as insignificant waves in the world. Kuai Long. I haven't found the most suitable successor for the beautiful scales, or I am even more unwilling to look for it. Light and dark. The end of the world. It was the only bridge he and Minos could feel between the two worlds. Now. The little fish appeared. In Kuai Long's heart, he was absolutely unwilling to hand over the beautiful scales. He had his own selfish motives. This selfishness, even when Yang Yu asked about beautiful scales, it seemed to touch his inverse scales. He had given Yang Yu so many Dragon Palace treasures, just hoping that Yang Yu wouldn't ask about the whereabouts of the beautiful scales. In fact, when he saw the golden little fish for the first time, he already understood the purpose of Yang Yu's trip. Kuai Long is the master of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King of the East China Sea. How many treasures can be taken from the top secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace is actually decided by Kuai Long. In other words, what I give you is yours. If I don't give it to you, you can't steal it. Can't even ask. After so many years, Kuai Long has been looking for ways to improve his strength. Taking the beautiful scales with him is the biggest motivation for him. He must keep his whole body in an active state, and the music and dance of the human world are the best alternative he'd found. No one wants to go to the reverse world more than him, and find her in that world through the induction connection of the beautiful scales. Kuai Long knew very well. It is absolutely impossible for him to go to that world by himself. He needs his old friends and even more help. Kuai Long lowered his head and looked at the beautiful scales with iridescent light waving in his heart. Through the scales, he seemed to be able to see Minos in that reversed world. I really want to dance the waltz again. When the little fish with the golden light on its body came closer to the heart of Kuai Long's claws, the little fish felt uneasy in his heart. I don't know why, but his body had an instinct to take that piece of beauty with strong attraction. The scales bite into each other, as if there is a call from a higher level of life in my ears. That is the call of evolution. That beautiful scale is waving towards it. Yang Yu felt uneasy. Looking at Xiao Xiao's body getting closer and closer, he had an indescribable feeling. He couldn't understand the language spoken by Kuai Long, but from Kuai Long's mournful cry, he could faintly feel that one beautiful scales have an unforgettable meaning to Kuai Long. Do not know why. He had another idea in his mind. This time, how about? When the little fish's eyes saw the mysterious iridescent ripples of the beautiful scales at close range, circles of colorful ripples began to appear in their eyes. At that most critical moment, the spiritual energy of the beautiful scales shines with intense colorful light. Europe. Me. Huji. Yeah. Big beauty. Minos. The depths of the East China Sea Dragon Palace are like shining colorful underwater aurora. In the aurora, that elegant, noble, beautiful, and charming body, the tail seems to spread out colorful fan leaves, covering less than half of the beautiful face. Europe. Kuai Long couldn't help but stand up with his bloated body, his round bean-like eyes, and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Is her. It's, Minas. In the aurora, Minas opened his colorful fantail, revealing all his features, and looked at Kuai Long with tender eyes, as well as the three little guys beside Kuai Long who were confused. There is that one. A little fish with golden glitter on its body. Huh, Huji. Xiao Xiao's breathing suddenly became rapid. Is this, what it will look like after it evolves? Mina spoke slowly. Baby, you suffered a lot over there, right? Kuai Long's fat body began to tremble non-stop. No, we are fine. Mina smiled brightly. Long, you have become fat. Kuai Long stupidly clutched the beautiful scales and flopped on the ground. You see, I can also dance a lot by the way, these are our little guys. The three little mini dragons were dizzy. It's hard for them to imagine, is this really their mother? Their father looks nothing like him. The smallest mini dragon muttered drowsily. How did mommy fall in love with daddy in the first place? The remaining two mini dragons who dared not speak were in a daze and could only nod their heads stupidly. The angry dragon almost jumped up and wanted to beat up these little cubs. Yang Yu, Dede, and the little dream monster, at this moment, held their breath and silently watched the conversation between Minas, Kuai Long, and Mini Dragon in the light and shadow. Afraid of disturbing them, Minas' eyes in the aurora light and shadow then fell on Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was nervous and apprehensive, and did not dare to look directly at Minas' holy and beautiful face. Little guy, believe in yourself. The light of the aurora quickly dissipated at almost the last moment, and Minas' beautiful smile in the light and shadow was frozen in front of Kuai Long. When Kuai Long frantically wanted to reach out and hug Minas in the illusory light and shadow at the last moment, the colorful light of the beautiful scales completely dissipated. Europe. Roar. The entire East China Sea Dragon Palace trembled with the roar of anger, excitement, helplessness, and other feelings. Kuai Long's figure flashed rapidly on the bottom of the East China Sea, completing 6 dragon dances in an instant, from the deepest part of the bottom of the sea, straight into the sky. Minas. I will rush through the passage of the reverse world. Find yours. Asking for votes.